The mics work now.
Yep.
So good afternoon everyone. Vicky Clare, public speaker, founder of Beyond Vision, professional artist in contemporary sculpture, ambassador for Retina UK and Fighting Blindness Ireland, advocate for the visually impaired and now a radio presenter for Hospital Radio Medway. She's been registered blind since 2002 and has slowly been losing her sight from the age of 19. And as a public figure advocating for the visually impaired community, she'll continue to break down the barriers within society and help pave the way for a more diverse and inclusive society. So Vicky's going to come up and say a few words. Vicky.
Go on, Vicky. Go on, darling.
Afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if I did that, can you hear me? Yes, no, yes. You know, it's superfluous to me, this thing. I'm a singer, I'm more likely to start banging out a tune. So, has anyone got issues if I just put it down?
Yeah, could you? Because it's disturbing next door, if that's all right.
That.
Yeah.
I'm only on the pint side, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah,
brilliant.
Okay.
Okay.
If not, you could maybe move to the front, I suppose, if that's
sure,
in the
no
air.
worries. All right, so thank you so much for attending. This is a wonderful conference, as you know. There's been some really amazing speakers and very inspiring things, very educational things, and hopefully it's been really lovely for everybody to meet new faces. I know I'm certainly a new face in Hospital Radio, and of course to do the networking, which is just such an imperative thing, especially since the pandemic. I mean, I think the pandemic took away from us as humans and as society so much, and that connection to each other. And let's be honest, Hospital Radio, that's the core of what we do, is to connect ourselves to our listeners and those people that are in hospital and beyond, of course. Now, I have a website that is called victoriaclaire-beyondvision.com. And basically I founded that back in 2018. I founded it for a reason that I felt that as a public speaker, I go around the country, I speak for quite a few large conferences that are sight loss based conferences, and they always kind of employ me to come along to motivate and inspire. And I realised actually how many people with visual impairment are very, very isolated in society. So with that, I wanted to start really something that was more worldwide, needed to be on the web for that, so that I could bring people all over the world together, inspiring each other, supporting each other at the end of the day, and hopefully going forward to bring people with visual impairment more to the front, more that, so that we can feel that we are as included as everybody else. And indeed, you know what, that goes across the board with disabilities as a role. So I'm not just here as a registered blind person, I'm here as an advocate for anybody with a disability. Because let's be fair, disabilities do put us on the back foot, but they don't need to keep us on the back foot. They can indeed bring us forward. So let me give you a little bit of my history. Basically, I was diagnosed with a disease called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a genetic disease of the retina. I found this particular information out when I was 19. So, as you can imagine, you're standing at the gateway to the rest of your life at 19, aren't you, really? I'd got into university, in Stafford University. I was awaiting to go onto a course, which was a figurative sculpture course. There was only 28 places in the whole of Europe, for which I had got one. So off I went to uni, put everything else with the diagnosis to the back of my head, thinking, no, this isn't for now, this isn't going to happen to me. So denial, basically. I went to uni. It was too much for me as really a very dependent young visually impaired person, really, because I had no training, I had no kind of life skills really as a visually impaired woman in the world. So unfortunately I did have to leave that course, which was an incredibly hard thing for me to do, because that was my first love is sculpture. And of course I wanted to go ahead and make a career for myself as a lecturer. To be able to do that, it would mean going and getting that degree at university. So unfortunately that wasn't the route I ended up taking. I had to take a little bit of time out to lick my wounds, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I started to pick up sculpting again, basically because it was a very therapeutic thing for me to do. So I started carving. That's the media that I am. I carve out of wood. And initially it was for my own benefit, then it started to roll because it got into small galleries. From there I then set myself up as a freelance artist, and it just kind of kept going really for here I am 30 years later. I have a retirement exhibition that is coming up at the end of the year. Now they're kind of just in discussion whether it's going to go to Dublin in the National Gallery or whether it's actually going to be in central London with the RNIB. So it's kind of like, okay guys, you fight that out. I don't really mind. Yeah, it really has been a passion of mine through my whole life. I've got many works of art all over the world, mainly commissioned pieces of work. But I started to exhibit work quite late on in my career, so probably only about 9 years ago, considering that I've done it for 30 years, so you know, it's a bit late really. But nevertheless, I got lucky. I did my first debut exhibition in Sessions House in the Maidstone headquarters of Kent County Council. I had a lot of interest in that exhibition from a lot of councillors, and it was my MP at the time who came along and viewed the exhibition. He loved it so much that he balloted for it to be at the House Commons, which it was. I still say that's my pièce de résistance. I definitely feel that having an exhibition in the House of Commons is very rare, and indeed it shot my career up very, very high, shall we say. It was all over the BBC. I was in national magazines and newspapers, and yeah, it really did make my career to the height that I now feel that, you know what, I'm happy to retire from it. But also, what came out of that was the fact that, of course, being a blind woman and a blind artist is an unusual thing. Again, it put my profile higher about being a visually impaired person, and obviously advocating for visually impaired people all over the country. And that's when Retina UK, who are a national charity, they basically came to me and asked me whether I would like to be an ambassador for them. So which of course I accepted. It was a lovely, lovely thing to be asked to do. And that's when the public speaking started to just kind of snowball. So I found myself kind of going all over the country, all over Ireland, speaking and advocating at, like I say, large conferences. In fact, in 2020, unfortunately, what with the pandemic, but I was invited to actually chair and speak at the world's largest visually impaired conference, which was happening in Dublin. So it was they called it Vision 2020, very apt as it was 2020, but literally it was all the world kind of leaders in ophthalmology, professors, doctors, organisations from all over the world. So yeah, that was a shame that that kind of had to be put on the back burner. But it will be coming back round, so that's something that no doubt will be in my future. But I say all this just to give you a little sketch of what I've done in my life up to now. But with the sight loss, of course, trying to traverse through my life with the challenges, with a progressive sight loss disease, it is just that. It is a challenge. I'm not gonna flower it up. I'm not going to try and pretend it's not difficult, because it is. However, you know, it's made me the person that I am, which is somebody that is very determined. I am very ambitious. I am very driven. I do take work very seriously, and I do want to make something. You know, I want to pave the way for others to follow. You know, so I kind of take that on board as well. Recently, for me, in 2020, big dip for my vision. So basically, if I just fill you in terms of what my visual capacity is. So if you can imagine yourself just walking through a very, very thick white fog. So basically, you can't kind of see through that fog unless light is kind of put onto it. So I have light perception and movement, but that's literally all I have. At the moment, I'm awaiting a guide dog, which I can't wait. Yeah, I've been on the list for about, I would say, 17 to 18 months. The waiting list can actually be up to 3 years, again because of COVID, unfortunately. But as soon as that little dog comes along, I think that's going to open up my world again massively. You know, it really, really will. I mean, I use a cane. I'm a long cane user. I must say that the long cane was a bit of a struggle for me, basically because I never wanted people to know. You know, I haven't lived this openly for very long. I mean, I would say I'm not going to say I've accepted my situation because I'm working on that. It's a work in progress. But what I will say is that I am coping a lot better than I did. But I used to push that cane away. I had various mobility workers, rehab workers come to me, give me a cane, and be like, oh, thanks very much, stick it in the rubber plant, looks great, holds the plant up, you know. Weren't going to use it, absolutely, just didn't want to use it. Again, denial. So there's a lot of denial running through my sight loss sort of journey. But it took an accident for me to actually wake up and realise I fell down a 6-foot culvert, and it was very painful. I'm a very active woman, so I wasn't too happy that I couldn't run and I couldn't walk, and I was out of action properly. So that really made me wake up and realise, look, you know what, you've got to do something about this. You need to actually accept you need to use a cane to help you and keep you safe. So that's when I opened up to the cane in 2016, and I've literally never been out. Part of RP is night blindness. It's literally the first thing you will discover is night blindness. And I hadn't been out on my own for 20 years on my own in the dark. And once I was trained with my cane, I took my little dog, I had a little Westie at the time, and we went out, just me and him, for the first time in 20 years, and wow, it was just like euphoric. It was just amazing. I couldn't believe that I'd been held back so much. So from that day forward, really, that's when I started to cope a lot better, and that's why I stand here today as an advocate of those with visual impairment or any disability, because I really truly believe that support is absolutely key. It's so needed, and I believe that therapy, talking therapy most especially, is something that's helped me, and I know that would help many others as well. So we're looking at putting ECLOs into every hospital with RNIB. Obviously that would be a first port of call for somebody to then get the support that they need. But ECLO isn't in every hospital as of yet, but we are working on that. That is a work in progress. In terms of my personal kind of last 2 years, where I've lost a hell of a lot more of my vision, that actually did take me down a very dark path. I did have a mental breakdown, and that was in the middle of COVID. So as you can imagine, there was lockdown. No one was allowed to see each other. And then I was then locked down within myself and within my disability and within my mind as well. So I didn't have that support, unfortunately, that was so desperately needed. My personal life was definitely going down the pan, is probably the best way to say it. I separated from my husband. I've moved out of where we lived. I'm now currently kind of putting my life back together, if I'm honest. It's a slow journey. It's something that I think had to happen, because I don't feel that where I was within my own personal life was where I needed to be, really. And I think I've realised by opening up to my own situation, I've met so many more people now. Now, I lived quite an isolated life, and I'm not an isolated person, I'm a talker. I need people, so to be kept in an isolated position, very dependent on one person, was too tough for me, it just wasn't the right thing for me. And ever since kind of rebuilding my life, I now have so many people in my life. I'm so grateful. I've got a great batch of friends that are all blind, visually impaired people, and we have a whale of a time. We go out, we do bowling, we do archery, we do, you name it, we'll give it a go, you know, it's amazing. And those girls are really important to me, and they kind of keep me uplifted, and, you know, they are that support network. So, yeah, it's kind of just, it's an ongoing challenge. It will change, and as my site again will change, there will be that adaptivity, and obviously but the acceptance and the coping mechanisms are the first things that kind of got to come in to play, really. But as far as my career goes, I've loved every moment of being a sculptor. I really have. It's given me so many gifts and so many opportunities. Obviously I wouldn't have the opportunity of being here with you today if I hadn't had the career that I've had. But, you know, I made a very big decision when I kind of stepped out of my old life into my new life, that I wanted to do something completely different. I've been a musician, actually. I play guitar, I play piano, and I sing, and I've been in bands for years and years and years, and music is another big love of mine. So the fact that I've been doing the public speaking for quite some time, the fact that I've been a musician for a long time, is kind of like marries those two things together in a radio situation, you know. So when I sort of realised what I wanted to do, it was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And it wasn't just me asking that question, it was the people that was behind the desks and at the stations. How's she going to do this? How's she going to do this? So it really was a double challenge, because I know how I can traverse my way through life. I know the adaptivities that I have to create, but of course average day people don't. So of course I'm finding myself having to educate people to then they give me the opportunity that I need. So initially I started down at just my local community radio, Sheppey FM, and I didn't have my own show. I had an hour slot for Beyond Vision, and it was on somebody else's show, but literally I could just present the hour, which was really great, and I loved every minute. It was very much about kind of mental health and supporting the community. Good little show, actually, and it did get a lot of listeners, so that was really lovely, and it was very interactional, lots of texts and stuff like that. And then really I ended up kind of leaving community radio, because I think they took me as far as they could. So I went along to hospital radio, and I met our chairman, Eunice Norman, and she pretty much just said, look, I can see there's the logistics here that's going to be a problem, but you know what we're going to do here is we're going to put you with a mentor, and we're going to see how this works. So she was very open. She wasn't kind of, you know, strict in any way. She wasn't saying you can't do it. She wasn't saying I could do it. She was just saying, let's see what happens. You know, which is a good place to start, really. So that's basically what I've done. Did a request show on a Saturday for quite some time, which was a nice little kind of warming into it. Had a lot of support with the colleagues of HRM, and through that got my own show called the Hit Rewind Show, and that's been a blessing. Absolutely love my show. It's on a Friday, it's from 2 till 4, and it's all about the 90s and noughties. It's all about the music that I love. To be honest, it's massively indulgent, but it seems to be people like it, so that's always a positive. And yeah, we cover stuff from like indie to soul to funk to acid jazz and dance. Yeah, so it's kind of all of your 90s and noughties music. And it's been going really, really well, you know. It really, really has. And again, without the help and the support of HRM, you know, it wouldn't be possible. But then also, I guess I have to look at that and also to kind of turn that on its head and say, well, actually, you know what, I'm here to help them too, to open them up to, you know, becoming a little bit more inclusive and diverse. and seeing how we can make solutions. So basically I had to come up with certain things to be able to run the desk independently. So it's a very colourful desk. I don't know whether anybody has ever seen things called bump-ons.
Yes, spot-ons, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm visually impaired as well, so I use them a lot on my microwave. And
me too, on the washing machine.
Yeah, washing machine.
You're on every spice,
yeah.
you know. I get it. So they are kind of smothered all over different buttons on the desk, and also on the keyboard as well, just to help me kind of get to the right points of the desk and stuff like that. But what I was having trouble with was the DPS system. So obviously I had to have a sighted guide, a mentor at the time, whoever that was, to put those in for me, and then the show would go forward as me being independent. But then I started to think, well actually I'd like to be even more independent. How can I do that? So I thought, okay, well why don't I just write my show, prepare my show beforehand. So every week I go home, I write the show for the week coming. I literally take all the music that I've written on my playlist and I put it all on CD. So it's a bit old school, but I do take the CDs in. They then get loaded. I've got these wonderful little, you might be interested in these. They're like little ball lights, but they're so bright. They're like bright white lights, so that helps me because, like I say, I have light perception. So it cuts out everything else and it just about cracks through the white that I see. So I know what button to press. So we did this. It takes a little bit of prep before we go on, but literally that's it. I'm free and I'm running. The desk is now for me quite a recognisable thing. A lot of memory muscle comes in, and you just kind of do it. And people say to me, how do you do that? And I will say to people that blind and visually impaired people, we have to rely on this, our memory. Our memory is absolutely key. If we don't have our memory, then I know we will be lost, So please dementia, don't find me. Because literally I need my memory so much to be able to do anything in my life. So having the time and the space in the studio, because I'm a bit of a loner when it comes to being in the studio. People kind of say, she's a bit of a diva, isn't she? But I'll be like, out, see ya, and I kind of chuck everybody out of the room. But that's not personal, it's just I've got to think about what I'm doing. I've got to really key into my memory, just so I know where my sliders, my buttons are and everything like that. So, it's really imperative that I'm able to do that. And then I started to think, okay, so I'm doing this Hit Rewind show. I'm having a good chat on the radio, sharing 90s and noughties music. How else can I reach the hospital patients? How else can I reach the greater audience? So mental health then came back to me because, like I say, that's been something that's very, very dear to my heart, and I will always support that without a doubt. So I now do a little moment which is called the Zen moment in my show, and it's kind of like 3/4 of the way through the show, and I play a very meditational piece of music. Sometimes it can be a 7-minute piece of music. I know it's not very radio friendly, but it gives people that opportunity just to take time out of their day, even if they're having a cup of tea, just sit and reflect and think about, what they're doing right now. Trying to be more mindful, bringing mindfulness into people's lives, because I think that we all live a life, rush, running, got to be there, got to be here, and we don't take enough time to kind of engage with ourselves and our own feelings, and just to check in, just to check in with ourselves to make sure that we're okay. So I share that with the hope that my audience will, kind of take that opportunity and go forward with it, on a daily level. Interviews and stuff like that, that's more to do with the work that I actually do with RNIB. So I also have the pleasure of doing a show for Connect Radio, which is the RNIB station. It's a very different show because it's a pre-record show, so of course my show on a Friday is live, so I get the kind of two ends of the Rector scale really. It's a very different show in terms of it shares music from the movies, and I get to kind of pick, you know, my favourite movies and talk about the kind of little links I've got, features and all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice little show actually. From that, the RNIB kind of said, okay, how would you like to do some art reviewing? So of course I jumped at it, and this is again kind of giving me another skill, because in my mind that's what I need. I'm a newbie, you know. If you ask me to create you a sculpture, yeah, no problem. If you want me to put on a very large exhibition, no problem. But I'm humble in terms of that's what I do, but this is what I'm trying to learn. So I always will kind of take that hat of learning and do it graciously. So they basically said, come along, do some art reviewing, which has been really great. I get to go to art galleries and review certain exhibitions and stuff, which is nice. And it always comes from the visual impairment sort of perspective as well. So how accessible is art to, you know, the visually impaired? Is it accessible enough? No, it's not, but let's change that. Let's keep doing these reviews so that these galleries can then start thinking, oh, okay, yeah, let's think outside of the box. Let's do something a little different. In fact, actually, back in 2018, I pioneered an exhibition which has never been done in the UK before, where I put 6 sculpted pieces of work in a pitch black gallery, and I invited an audience to kind of interact with that work in a completely different way. And it was a wonderful, actually it really was a wonderful exhibition. It was indeed the exhibition that kind of got me balloted for the Tate Gallery, the Turner Tate in Margate. And again, COVID came along, so, but nevertheless, it did certainly get me to that kind of level. But what it did do is it was all over the news, it was all over the TV, and it got people thinking. It got people thinking, wow, how can I interact with art? How can we improve this? Change galleries' mind, you know, make them be more open to actually looking into their accessible side of things. So that was a big kind of game changer. And with the art reviews as well, it's pushing that forward, and it's saying, look, come on, you know, you're not being inclusive enough. You need to be more adaptive with how you're putting on your exhibitions and stuff. So what with that going on as well, and the interviews that RNIB kind of sort of ad hoc kind of text me or they'll email me and say, oh, are you going to this, are you going to be doing this conference? So, for example, I did a conference back in September, it was the Visionary Conference, which was in Birmingham. And RNIB kind of dropped this on me last minute. Oh, okay, I don't suppose you could grab 3 of the CEOs and interview them for us. And I was like, okay. But I had my own kind of speech to do there as well, so I was like very much part of the workshop. So I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to fit this in, you know? But, you know, I managed it, I did manage it. So again, it's about, you know, juggling and taking things on board. I wanted to learn more interview techniques to improve my interview skills. So, you know, any kind of future opportunities with the radio, I can actually say, yeah, I've been trained to interview as well. So it's kind of, in my mind, I want to learn, and I'm always willing to learn. I'm a big believer that life is all about learning. I don't believe we ever stop learning till the end. Who knows what happens after that? But, you know, I'm very open to change, really. I think that's probably Beyond Vision's biggest kind of message that I'm trying to put out there, is to change. And, you know, being able to do the radio, being given the opportunity to do my own show has been such a blessing, because again, it's reaching people. It's not putting myself in that box of, oh, she just wants to talk to VIs, you know, she just wants to talk to visually impaired people. Of course I don't. I want to talk to everybody. I want to be able to reach everybody, and, you know, just people are lonely animals, you know. If we don't have each other, if we can't support each other, then it can be a really, really lonely and isolating place. And let's be fair, I'm sure we all have had experience of being in hospital. Don't get me wrong, doctors and nurses do a fabulous, fabulous job. But of course, if you're in hospital on your own, it's a lonely place, and it's a scary place. You don't know what's going to happen to you, and you feel quite vulnerable at that time as well. So I think it's super important that hospital radio keeps going and keeps going, because every show that goes out reaches somebody. It's even if it just reaches that one person, it's got them through their day, or it's got them through their night, then isn't that a beautiful thing, So I'm a very, very strong believer in the power of radio. I think radio is more diverse to everybody. You can sit and watch TV if you've got the eyes to do so. If you don't, of course, you can only listen to it, but you're missing things within it. Audio description is something that RNIB are very much pushing forward, and we are trying all the time to create more opportunities so that audio description can be put in all different public places, not just the obvious places, because I think, again, it's auditory, it's all about audio. Radio is all about audio, music is all about audio. And let's not forget as well, music itself. There's me kind of talking about what I want to change within people's lives, but a piece of music can change somebody's mood, it can change an emotion, it can change everything, from being somebody that is absolutely lost and feels alone. If a piece of music touches somebody, it can be that saviour. I know that for myself. I have a playlist that I call the Rescue Playlist, and I know when I am having a bad day, I'll put that Rescue Playlist on, and it's got like dance tracks on it and stuff like that, which will just be like, woo, let's go, come on. It's just like me in my flat dancing, but I'm cool. I'm like, I'm out of my worries now. I've moved myself from a dark place to a better place, and I think that's what really radio can do for everybody. I really do. So, I just hope to keep going in terms of change for everybody. Beyond Vision is a place of support. I believe there's a few cards out on table, on chairs. Please take a moment to go on the website. It's an interesting little place. It really does share some wonderful, wonderful people. It does say my story as well, and really it's just an inspiration. It's trying to inspire and motivate anybody that is in struggles, in whatever that struggle may be. So for me, what else do I do with my life other than carve and sculpt and talk and on the radio? But one of the things that I absolutely adore doing is surfing. So there's only 2 blind women in the country, for which I'm one of them, and my friend Melissa Reid. She's a world champion surfer, and we basically, both of us are crazy about it. She's really great. I just do it because I love it. But it's something about the water and how healing the water can be, being out on that ocean and surfing. If there was anywhere other than the radio or my studio, I'd be in the water every time. So yeah, I also create skateboards because skating is a part of the surf culture. And I also create them obviously because it's a bit like a busman's holiday for me. But it's giving yourself joy whenever you can, really. So I hope that gives you a little insight to Beyond Vision. Excuse me. I hope that gives you a little bit of what I'm trying to do, what I want to create, and just want to say thank you very much for listening. So if there's any questions, please feel free.
Yeah.
Hello, Vicky. It's Adrian here. All right, darling. Basically, I've been dying to ask you this question. I wanted you to come on my show actually and ask myself over the airwaves.
Yeah.
But basically, no doubt you've been asked this question 9,000 million times.
Yeah.
Do you think that radio needs to do more and adopt more to people with sight loss?
I do.
Yeah.
I have to say I do.
Yeah.
I think it's not an easy nut to crack.
Yes.
I don't think that anything is particularly easy for anybody with a disability. Like I say, we're all on that back foot together.
Of course. Yes.
But I do say, like, you know, for example, the BBC, they are very, very inclusive and diverse, constantly employing people with disabilities to
mental health as well, yeah.
That's right. So, you know, if we could kind of, if the BBC were the trailblazers, let's all follow them. You know, let's all kind of pave that way, because I think, you know, you kind of, there's a lot of gifts there within mental health, within disability, that I think people are missing.
Exactly, because obviously, I mean, you know, I'm not going to tell everybody everything, but you know, let's just say I have a mental health issue, and what I've been hearing from you, even though we're in the same boat but not in the same boat, that in itself would inspire me anyway, and to hear somebody kind of in my situation inspires me even more, and makes me think, well, if Vicky Clare can somehow break down the barriers, so can Adrian Van Dahl. So, you know what I mean? That in itself is like a domino effect.
Yeah.
And you're quite right, whether it's mental health or anybody who's got any kind of in a situation like that, fair play to you, good luck, and kick some butt.
I actually did a little experiment not that long ago.
I know, I think it was Dave Watson, wasn't it, with blindfold thing?
Yeah, I did the blindfold
right,
challenge with him. I kind of dropped it on him, and he was really gracious, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll give this a go, you know, why not?
Explain it,
Yeah, this guy literally, he's been a radio presenter for yonks, right? So put a blindfold on him and say, right, can you do me 3 links, 3 songs, see how you feel. And literally, he, bless him, it really shocked him.
Yeah.
It really did shock him.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you do this? You know, but I think to myself, but I know how I do it, but I have to do all those things that sighted people don't have to even think about. They don't even have to consider. You know, it's like a sighted person doing a radio show can take in with their eyes all the information that they need. And of course, they can also they don't have to use the memory so much, so they can be talking to Jack Fred or whoever, having a conversation, having a laugh, putting a song on. But for me, of course, it's like, well, I can't, you know, that's a sensory overload for a blind person. Somebody coming in, talking at you when you're trying to kind of put a song on, think about what your link's going to be, think about what you want to get across and say. You know, so it's difficult, but then to put people in that position, like I did in 2018 with the exhibition, I don't think people ever really get it until they're in it. And I really...
You don't understand the illness unless you've got it, and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I get that, I really do, obviously,
I think the blindfold challenge, I mean, I do these blindfold challenges throughout the world, you know, I've done them many, many times, and I will continue to do so, because I really think they're a useful tool to kind of get people in the zone as to try and put themselves in your shoes, you know, obviously. So, blindfold challenges, bring them on.
Exactly. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, sorry.
Another question here.
Yeah.
I have another question. My name's Sarah, and I was the person who went, I love the spot-ons, because I'm vision impaired myself.
Yeah.
And I have a condition called nystagmus, and I've been now got nystagmus. So my vision's I'm not classed as blind. I'm 40 and I've probably done a lot of work that I shouldn't have done in my life. I look back, I've worked with service users and probably took a lot of risks. But I'm finding, even now, I find our hospital radio community actually really welcoming and accessible. I find people who don't in hospital radio community, they're very open. But unfortunately, my professional life, and you talked about your professional life, I'm very eloquent, and I'm really like, I've got the same ethos as you. However, you must have come against a lot of negativity. For instance, I was speaking to one of the nurses. I actually work for the NHS, and I said to her, I'd like to become an occupational therapist.
Okay.
I think I'd make a very good occupational therapist.
Yeah.
You know what she said to me? Don't you have to drive to do that?
Oh, God.
Now, this was only said a year ago.
Yeah.
So, have you got any tips or hints? Because a lot of us in here, varying disabilities, mental health issues, whatever, as we come across a lot of negativity.
Prejudice,
and even from in the NHS itself, I have a terrible boss. Have you got any hints and tips of how to deal with that?
Yeah, I think really, at the end of the day, I mean, it sounds the most ridiculous thing, but I'll give you another example. For me, I had to go to have my eyes checked, which really makes people laugh. It's like walking with a cane, you're registered blind, but why are you bothering? It's like, well, actually, I want to actually take care of my eye health. You know, it's important to do so. But then they're not been trained. These are ophthalmologists that haven't been trained how to guide a blind or vision impaired person, how to speak to somebody, and you know, instead of just saying to me, "Oh, just sit in the seat just there." Well, where's the there?
Where's the seat?
Where's there? Can we broaden that a little bit? You know?
Yeah, I just find that amazing. I went to an orthodontology appointment. Oh, it come up on screen like, hi, orthodontology appointment.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the same for me. It's like, look at the target. What target? You know, but it's about education. That's my answer. We must educate people. I think education.
Sorry to argue. I don't mean to argue. Because I would love to get into that, and maybe I should email you and talk to you.
Yes, absolutely.
It's something I'm very passionate about. But again, as I say, I've found. Maybe it's because I come across more able than I actually am. A lot of negativity, especially when it comes to transport and things like that.
Yes.
A lot of barriers in that way. And how do you get across those barriers?
So when you say in terms of transport, okay, so can you give me an example? What sort of transport do you use?
I know most people go, most people go, oh, you can't drive, so you can't do that. And I try to explain to them, well, no, there's funding out there and this and that. And I tend to find people are very sort of, they don't want to put themselves forward and find out about stuff and find out about, I can remember I had a boss, I told her about access to work and it was free, and she refused to give me access to work. And actually RNIB, one of them was hell bent on taking them to €5, but
they will. They will.
Yeah, and it's people who really should be more mindful. How do you? I get intimidated easily. How do you not stand up to them, but how do you be assertive? How do you?
I think assertiveness and me have had an interesting little relationship. It's taken some time, but I think for me, once I started to work on myself in terms of, because at the end of the day, we can't really force people to change the way they are. But what we can do is change ourselves. So in terms of if you are receiving negativity, if you are receiving unhelpfulness or whatever shape or form that is coming at you in, if you've managed to work on yourself in terms of how you take it on board and process it, and if you can turn that around so that then you come back at them with a positive comment. So it kind of throws them off balance because they're not expecting it. They're not expecting you to turn around with a positive, kind of comment. They want you to go down that negative road, but you have to defy that and come back with positive.
Even in the NHS, you get.
Oh yeah.
It's surprising. In fact, because I'm an activities coordinator, some of it's to do with my vision, but I'm on a career break at the moment, and I'm activities coordinator. And my old boss, she wanted me to go in one activity for 6 patients. I actually in my old job, we got really high up for activities, and I'm like, I just broke down in front of her, and I said, no, actually, I know that's not going to work for 6 patients, and
but people
the patients are actually better than the staff.
You
think in that environment they would be more mindful.
People generally.
I'm maybe quite passionate.
People generally, they look at. I find on a personal level, it's like they look at me I don't look blind, right? That's part of RP. People with RP don't lose their kind of muscles around the eye sockets. So that straight away is a bit of a hidden disability, if you like.
Yeah.
Until you see that cane, you don't know that I can't see, right? So without that cane, and if I'm like, you know, bumping into things or whatever, which I'm very rarely doing because I'm always with cane, and after cane I shall be with dog. But, you know, on those rare occasions, you know, on those rare occasions, I will bump into things, and then people just berate you and be like, oh, you know, because you know, it's a visual world. Let's say,
Yes,
it's a visual world.
I have found that hearing and vision are kind of the two senses out of all that's kind of taking over. We don't tap into smell,
Nobody
taste
does.
and touch.
Nobody. This was again. I digressed back to my exhibition in 2018. I wanted people to absolutely forget their vision. Forget it. It's not. It's gone. Right? Hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it. Use those other senses, because so many people don't. I mean, if you're really super honest with yourselves, if unlike, you know, us, because we, you know, we are the exception.
A lot more than I should. I mean,
Yeah, but residual vision, if it's there, it's too tempting to use.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
look at my phone and I should use a magnifying glass and I should use glasses, and I'm getting eye strain and I'm like, yes, because I'm squinting too much.
Yeah, that's right. But even, you know, I mean, for me, it took me a long time to actually turn on VoiceOver on my iPhone. I think I've only been doing that for the past probably 3 years. I could have been doing that for a lot longer. Again, it's taken me that kind of length of time to get used to using my laptop in the same way, using my iPad in the same way. So again, it's about acceptance as well, and I think that is one of the things that I now call the 3 A's. Okay, so this is a part of my sort of work when I go around and I say, I'm going to talk about 3 A's, and I'm like, well, 2 A's, is your car broke down? So no, not that sort of A's. It's accessibility, it's adaptivity, and it's acceptance. Now, accessibility, we can pave the way, even if our environment that we are in are not educated, we can educate them. Basically, that is what I feel I've done in terms of a lot of my work, a lot of my jobs and stuff. And I'm, you know, grateful that people have taken it on board. And, you know, literally, one of my colleagues at the moment is making, he's got a mixer. So we're hoping to try and get me off of the DPS sort of needing anyone to put anything in, getting me away from the CDs, and actually put in the mixer through a laptop. The laptop has got a program called Virtual DJ, and that speaks to you. So again, bingo, I've got my auditory, I'm there, that's what I need. But then we're going through the problematic parts of that. So now we're going through, okay, so how can I have my monitor on my live show, hear everything that's going out, but also have this very robotic voice going at me? So he's now designing a pair of headphones that have got splits, so I'll have my auditory device in one side and I'll have my monitor for the radio in the other.
I love it when you meet people like that as well who want to do it. I mean, we got one of our guys who's really helped us with Myriad, and it's like a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And it's like take it on as a project, like, oh, how's this and how's this?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes the world a difference. It really does. So, you know, all I shall say is accessibility, that is a changeable thing. It really, really is. Adaptivity, everyone can adapt. Everybody, if they really truly tried, we can all adapt. I'm not saying it's easy, by no means, but there are solutions to most problems. There are solutions so that we can do things the way we want to do things. It might be very different. It might be the long haul. It might take us a lot longer than most, but we do get there, and that's the result, is the getting there. And in terms of acceptance, which kind of ties in with your initial question, we have to accept ourselves fully for who we are, and not just as blind or visually impaired people, or those with mental health disability, not somebody with adversity, but to accept ourselves for who we are and understand who we are first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, we are people, because it's changing languages.
Yeah.
I used to always call I'm disabled, but no, I'm a person with a disability.
Yes, absolutely. Put
Or I'm
yourself
a person
forward.
with
You step
this
forward.
accessibility issue, yeah.
Yeah, you step forward as you. Your disability is behind you. You do not do that round the other way. I would never ever introduce myself as hello, my name's Victoria Clare and I'm a registered blind woman. Never. Not anymore.
But I was born with. Sorry, I'm taking over. If anybody else has anything.
Yeah, Jason's got a question.
I have a question.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I apologise.
It's not a question. It's actually more of like I'm as you see, I'm in the chair now. Well, I'm in the chair now, and had a walking with a limp for a long time, and had to use a walker and everything else. So you mentioned denial, and
Yes.
denial is a huge thing because for the years I've been told I've got to really get myself in a better position to like move around more.
Yeah.
But I find that when you talk about accessibility, is this hotel's lovely, but there are areas of the hotel,
Yes.
like the door getting in,
Yes.
like pushing the door, it's like the Bolero trying to get in
Yeah.
through out the door because
Yeah.
I've got to like push the door open to that.
Yeah.
And drop curbs and everything else. But people think you need a carer.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
need a carer.
Yeah.
I want to do this on my own. Like
Yes.
you said, you don't want to have someone
No.
there for you.
No.
You
It's-
just want everything to be a little bit more accessible,
Again.
so you can actually do it.
Again. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to drive
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely. It's again sharing your message as the person that you are and the needs that you deservedly need. There isn't anything wrong with that. The world should become a much more accessible place because you know what? It's gone are the days when 1930s, 20s, hide the disabled person away, put them in a cupboard. It doesn't work like that anymore, right? We are people, we are here, we're not going anywhere. We want to live life just as well as everybody else. We deserve the best. Why shouldn't we receive it?
Exactly.
And it's about empowering people, getting out there, getting that message across. Even on your worst day, just think to yourself, if you can make a little bit of a change in yourself, it's always going to be what comes from within. If you can change yourself and your attitude, then you project that positivity and that attitude out to the world, you will find that things will start to change.
And so it's a counter-action.
Yeah.
You do it to them, they kind of do it to you kind of
Yeah.
thing. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Graham?
Hi Vicky, my name's Graham Medhurst. I'm a
Hiya.
member at Chelmsford Hospital Radio.
Oh, hello there.
And as an HBA rep, I've been down and met Eunice and the team at Medway.
Oh, okay.
So great to hear she's still
Yeah.
rattling on.
She's still with us.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for sharing your stories. Question I have, you talked about the practicality of running the desk,
Yes.
but the team at Medway, have you got any examples of how they've had to change their thinking, operation and strategy?
Well, basically, it was really being put with mentors and discussing that. I mean, Adrian's here as one of my mentors. And we would discuss. I would come up with, okay, look, this is my struggle. We would sit and we would try and kind of work around that. And really, the way I'm doing it right now at this moment in time is all really because I've come up with the ideas to put the bump-ons on, to put the lights on, to use CD, all that kind of stuff has kind of come from me as a solution, which makes me, able to do it independently. But having said that, like I was saying, one of my colleagues, Tony Slater, is an incredible engineer, and he's creating this little mixer that will work with virtual DJ. That will then get spoke to me. Then I won't have to, it can be linked up with the main desk. So I can still kind of do the mics and faders and stuff from the main desk. But the most independent part of it will be that I can create my own playlists myself through an MP3, and then that will get read out to me, and all I've got to do is load them on, load them off, load them on, load them off. So, it's a work in progress at the moment. Like I say, it's kind of, we need to do lots of little tweaks and discover the problem solving as
Exactly.
we go.
As you say, you've got to do more. We have to do more in that situation.
Yeah.
A lot more. We're not even halfway there,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned anyway. And we need to do more. We have to do more because, damn it, we're all, we're given an opportunity regardless of whether you're whatever colour, whatever religion, it doesn't matter. We're all humans. We all have feelings, we all have goals, we all have destiny, whether it's set or not. Why shouldn't we achieve our dreams, regardless of what we're going through? Why not? What have I got? 3 years? Because I'm mental health problems? What, I've got 2 noses? You know.
It's the thing, yeah. It is the thing, and it's about again, like I say, knowing who you are as a person,
Exactly, yeah.
appreciating yourself
Exactly.
in every way, giving yourself a lot of self-love, a lot of
Pat on the
self-compassion,
back.
and then going forward and changing society. Society will change, but like I say, we have to change first. We can't go lurking into the future, into society with a chip on our shoulder. That's not going to go down well.
That's right.
Okay, we've got to get rid of that chip off the shoulder, get some positivity, become a better person in ourselves, to then go out and do the message, and hopefully things will change. That's my ethos.
I totally agree, yeah. I do the same.
Yeah.
I do the same, yeah.
Question for you from me, Vicky. I'm Sam, HBA trustee and Radio Horton volunteer. What can hospital radio stations do to be more inclusive and open up opportunities to people with visual impairments?
Well, for starters, I think they need to kind of advertise a little bit, just to reach out to, even local authorities, like, wherever you are. The RNIB is the largest. By no means they're not the only one. There are lots and lots of charities that have got members that would probably be really interested in doing something like this, but they've got to do a little bit of research, kind of get all those charities as a list, and then maybe go along to some of their conferences, put themselves forward, so that visually impaired people actually can go, oh wow, I didn't know that's something that I could do, because like me, I've wanted to do it for such a long time, but I always thought I'm not going to be able to do it. But then I was the same when I learned to surf. I went all around Australia looking at surfers thinking, oh, I want to do that. I'm never going to be able to do it. Never going to be able to do it. But then it's about like, unless you believe that you can do something, and unless you are supported to do so, then those two things will never marry up and create a successful career or successful vocation.
I must say, hospital radio, it sounds like from your experience and my experience as well, and I don't know if you guys agree, but I've actually found, yes, it's difficult at times, but I've found hospital radio one of the most open-minded ways of being able to volunteer as a VI person.
I think what we could
People
do
want to look forward,
I think what we could do in my experience is embracing technology a little more. I think sometimes because we're hospital radio, we're in a basement. Nobody comes down here unless next to the morgue. But actually, it's quite a nice little station down there. It's got a lot of equipment, but boy, can it! We've got loads more staff that could all be fitted. We need people that are more kind of less old school. Dare I say that? Less old school, and come into the future and maybe digitalise.
Oh, sorry. I was about to say, equipment, you're saying about equipment, there are so many grants and charities
Yes,
and
there
things.
are. There's access to work, which is something that I feel quite sure, even as a volunteer, we are entitled to. Because I believe so.
I didn't know that.
Access to, you might want to check that, but access to work is something, it's so good. I've had it in various
it's
jobs.
available for lots of different things, work experience, volunteering,
that's right.
for employed,
And they will come in, assess the situation and see what your needs are, and then put that in place for you. But what you've got to do is you've got to get your management behind you, because initially that sounds very scary. What do you mean you're going to come in and start mucking about with all our kit? But it's not like that. But I think maybe that might come across a little bit like that to your management.
Sorry to interrupt again, but I have found that with mentioning access to work, there's lots of people out there who are not in management positions, who are not aware of it, and they're like, but what the heck is this, and I think access to work should be more made
Yeah.
just throughout
But hey-
all industries.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
more people maybe.
Yeah. But
I'm
I
surprised how many people haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, yeah, that would be a wonderful kind of pathway to actually, like, you know, use the charities that are out there just to get members, because there's a lot of people with memberships that, you know, there's your audience. If you're trying to get a VI on board to be a presenter, there's the places to go.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, learn about things like access to work, learn about newer technologies, digital technologies, screen readers, all that kind of stuff that then will, you know, kind of pave the way for a blind person to move into that position and do it successfully.
Okay, any other questions for Vicky?
I was just going to say, Vicky, sorry, it's Liam, one of the conference organisers that you met when you checked in
Yeah.
the other day. Firstly, apologies that we couldn't do your audio for some reason has
That's
disappeared.
It's okay.
But for those in the room, I did put up your website so they could have a
Brilliant.
quick look at some of the
Perfect.
pages on there to
Right.
promote that a bit. Like you
Thank
say,
you.
there's a lot of tabs on there, that
Yeah.
different stories and
Yeah.
the background to Vicky and lots of what she's talked to us about today, but also this page about Beyond Vision Radio. So again, explaining, like you've said, about what's happened at Medway.
Yes.
And you know, a great place to go and have a look at things that Vicky's been up to. So
Thank
please go
you.
to the website.
Thank you, thank you. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day. I know it's a wonderful.
Thank you, everybody. Well.